Kia ora. Today I'm going to create a layout using the You Are Enough National Scrapbooking Month collection that Close to My Heart is going to be putting out. This collection is filled with beautiful colours, just sparkles. There's a rose gold there which is just absolutely stunning. This kind of beautiful water washed pinks and blues and purples. It's just a gorgeous collection, and it will only be available, I think it is, through the month of April. And I'm going to be teaming this with this amazing cut file called Floral Typewriter by Confessions of a Paper Addict. And you can find them in Etsy, and I will link them below later in the notes. So I'm just going through some of the papers in this collection, working out what will work with both my photo and with the cut file that I've got here. And I really love the one that I've got it sitting on here now, but I do end up changing it to the pink that's sort of tucked in the background there. I decide I'm going to use this sort of hexagonal paper with the rose gold tucked in it to back the sort of the shell or the case of the typewriter here. And I just use some of the offcuts from the from my Cricut mat there, and I'm going to just draw around the outline, and then I'm going to cut slightly bigger than what I've drawn around so it will fit onto the back of the typewriter cut file. So the colours in this collection are Ballerina, Sangria, Sapphire, Peach, and Glacier, and there's a few others sort of teamed in there as well. Those are just the main colours of the cardstock that comes with it, so that gives a bit of a picture or an idea of the colours that we're playing with here. So just look at that galaxy kind of that paper. It's beautiful, even though that's going to be the back of what I'm sticking down. So now I've cut out these pieces, and I'm going to use some of the liquid glass here to outline, and it's got the fine tip applicator on, to go around the outer edge of the cut file where I'm going to be putting these pieces that I have cut out. So just looking and positioning that there so that it's going to sit nicely on the cut file. So just adding some more of the liquid glass here, going around the sort of the biggest part of the typewriter to stick that down. Now the story behind this typewriter and why I wanted to create this page was the We Are Memory Keepers typewriter that I purchased for myself on behalf of my husband as a Christmas present at the end of last year. I sort of get things for myself and think, oh yeah, that'll be for that, and then he'll sort of say the day before something, what am I getting you for your birthday, or what am I getting you for Christmas? And in this instance I said, well, there's the typewriter there. So he was quite happy with that. Maybe one day he'll surprise me with something that he's thought of himself, and I will have to sort of quickly hide or put away what it is I've purchased on behalf. Anyway, it works at the moment. So looking at this here, I've got this typewriter, got the photo, and I'm just looking in my pile here to work out what I might put in behind the keys. So I really liked that Bluebell glitter cardstock, and I do bring it out a few times, but I decided to go for some of the plainer cardstock, and so I locate that and then look at how that looks, and I love the softness. It is very similar to the actual colour of the typewriter, but this Glacier colour just sort of, it seemed to work with what I was doing. So what I'm going to cut the Glacier out to do is to be the keys that you can see there, and the space bar. So what would normally be white on the typewriter or a creamy colour, I've made into the white colour. So now I'm just matting my photograph on some white daisy cardstock that I just cut roughly with my scissors, and I'm just choosing some of the papers or the cardstocks that I think will work to back this photograph. And I've chosen this burgundy, sort of that galaxy paper that I liked before, that also is, the hexagons are on that other side of it. So I've used that, and I'm going to pull out some of the Bluebell and Rose Gold cardstock just to tuck in behind that matte again, so that's a little bit of extra matting in there. So I'm liking how that's looking. The photo's standing out, and that cut file really adds a beautiful feature to it. Now I decide that I want to kind of create a frame around the layout, and I'm really not sure what colour to do this and what's going to look best. And so I play around with a few ideas. The white certainly doesn't work for me. And I sort of end up giving up on the idea of a frame around it. Until I spot something a little bit later on. So I just leave it, and I decide, right, I'm just going to carry on here and stick down my photographs and sort of create that photo mat a little bit haphazard, and liking that sort of chaotic look in there. And then I realise that I need to, I still need to back this photo, back the layout, but I'm just not quite sure what colour yet. So I've trimmed that zip strip off, but I do end up trimming another inch off two sides a little bit later on. So then I'm still desperate to back that layout, and yeah, I just carry on for a little bit and try and work out some other bits and pieces. So here I have found a piece that will work from this collection, and so I'm just trimming off an inch here and another inch off that side there. And I am going to sort of carve out a piece in the centre of this kind of really speckled paper. When you look at it up close, it looks like sort of a Formica bench top with lots of little flecks of different colours in it is kind of what this reminds me of. I'm not sure if that's a New Zealand thing or an international kind of analogy or not. Anyway, sort of gutting that because I am going to use the other side of that paper that I'm backing the layout for some more, for another piece of stuff to back the cut file, and you'll see that shortly. So here I am just using the Tombow blue glue around the paper and sticking that down. And there I'm quite liking the definition that this provides, and I'm just going to go around the edges of the paper and sort of scrunch them in, pull them in, just to add some texture, a bit of, it almost adds another whole layer to it, and dimension, just by curling those edges up. Lots of different ways to do this, but for this one I just did it with my fingers. Anyway, so I'm going to use the back of that cool Formica-ish kind of stuff, and I am going to draw around the pieces that I want in here, as well as the base of it. So because I'm drawing with pencil on sort of that dark fleck, it does become quite tricky to see, but I'm just drawing the general lines on the inside of it, and I will again cut slightly bigger than the lines that I've drawn, so that there's going to be a bit of room to adhere the edges to this beautiful floral typewriter cut file. So just going around all these pieces and drawing those down. So I'm going to go off camera and cut those out. And here we go, I have got it cut, and you can see just the way I'm placing it here, how that kind of finishes it off and sets it up a little bit, ready to be a more finished look. I really liked having some of the white in there, but where the paper would be, sort of underneath these florals, it felt like there was something missing in it. So I do decide to keep the florals naked, if you will. I don't back those. I really like how they sort of had the pink behind them. It just added a really nice subtle touch. So I have put the glue this time on the cut file. Yep, and it's ready to go. Sticking that down, filling in those gaps, checking to make sure I've got that positioned right. And the beauty of using this glue is there's a little bit of room for maneuverability and to place it down. So it's not an instant setting one, but it does give that opportunity to shuffle things or move things a little bit if it didn't quite sit right the way I had it. So anyway, we have the typewriter now nicely backed. There were a couple of pieces that needed to go onto it from the cut file that weren't sort of joined together, and I'm just popping them in now based on where they were in the image on the Cricut mat. Anyway, so now I'm just going to stick down the cut file onto this backing paper, and I decide I want to have the handle sort of over to into the frame a little bit. Is it the return sweep? I'm not sure what you'd call it now. Once upon a time when I was in typing classes, I would have had to know all the parts of the typewriter. I know how to use it, but I can't remember all the names of all the bits, but that's okay. So here's my layered photos, getting ready to stick those down, putting the lid back on the fine tip glue to keep it nice. And I decide I'm going to bring in one of the Picture My Life cards from this You Are Enough collection. These are quite beautiful in themselves, but I just liked that floral connection to the right there and how that sort of tied in nicely with the florals on the cut file. So here we go, having a look at these stickers, and while I look like I'm sticking this back on the sheet, I've done that so that I can journal on it without any texture or bumps behind it. So I'm just sticking down the photo onto the journaling card, and I'm going to use double-sided foam tape here to sort of give a little bit of lift to this sort of photo mat cluster. And sticking that down. Almost finished. I need to add in my journaling here, and I need to pop in a title, which I am going to use. I think it's called the Modern Typewriter stamp set. I'm not sure if this is a current one or a past one, but it's fabulous. I've used it on quite a few different pages. Sometimes it's really good for sub-journaling, as well as, in this case, the title. So I'm working backwards, so I'm going to call it Just My Type, and so I start with the E at the end and then bring in each of the other letters. The mat that I've got behind here, that black mat, I have turned it over, and it's kind of got a foam side, which helps to make a really good image when stamping. So and I like that it's 12 by 12, so I could stamp anywhere on this page and it's going to support an even stamped image. So I'm just challenging myself as I do the stamping to make sure I can spell backwards and thinking about the letters in reverse order. I have in the past written these out, but this time I just went with it and it worked out just fine. This typewriter isn't always perfectly even, so it was kind of on purpose that I didn't line up the title stamps or anything like that. So just turning that Versamat over, there's a great cutting side, but I'm just going to texturize or curl up and distress the edges of the photo mats. Just curving them around, making sure some of them tear a little bit. So here it is pretty much done, but I do decide to go in and add some pearl dots and some glitter dots. And here we are. Thanks for watching, and I will link some of these products and things down below.